These returns almost didn't happen, the reunions, I should say, amid high tensions on the Korean Peninsula with the DPRK's nuclear ambitions and South Korea's joint military drills with the U.S. International security analyst Jim Walsh joins us live from Watertown, Massachusetts to talk more in depth about North-South relations. Jim, why don't we just use that as a starting off point? You know, in Seoul and in South Korea, there's so much discussion about this. In the DPRK, it's not even in the news. This huge gulf between these two countries, what do we read into that?
Well, I would say a couple of things about it. First of all, and it's good and it's bad. So part of it is that means that North Korea thinks of these reunions as really sort of a foreign policy tool. They're not really communicating to their domestic audience. They're not giving it much attention. They're telling them, but there's not much beyond that because they really see it as an asset in their relations with South Korea. And that's what this is being used for good or for ill. I would say the sort of odd but positive side of this is because it's not really being covered in the DPRK. That means the North Koreans can do stuff they haven't done before without embarrassment. So this reunion, I think for the first time ever, has allowed South Koreans who were abducted, fishermen who were abducted and taken to North Korea to meet with their families in South Korea. And so you would think that that would be a very, very sensitive thing, but because it's less covered in the North, I think that gives the government in Pyongyang some leeway to be able to do that, which is very powerful for the South Koreans.
Very interesting perspective. So these tearful reunions, can they pave the way for closer ties, or are there other sticking points? And we talked about them, the DPRK's nuclear ambitions, the U.S. ROK drills, which are going to take place. Are they going to stand in the way?
And my answer to that, Mike, is yes, for both. I mean, I think they can be part of a series of things that happens that provide momentum to greater discussion. That is certainly one of the scenarios in play here. But we've been here before. We've had reunions before. They are primarily of a humanitarian nature. And let's be honest, for North Korea, this is a wasting asset for them. As your last reporter indicated, you know, half the folks on the list had already passed away. This is not something they can really use for foreign policy purposes very long, just because of the nature of people are going to die off, essentially. But so I think it can be part of a set of things that leads to greater dialogue, and that would be a good thing. But with all the uncertainty about the DPRK, with the execution of Jong, with all the things that are happening internally, you just don't know.
Well, let's say this is the first rung of the ladder. What do you see as the next step? What should we be looking for?
Well, I think there could be several things, and it seems as if President Park is really, under this rubric of trust politique, is seizing that opportunity. I think we may see more humanitarian interaction, food, I mean, if it keeps going in this direction. Food aid, there may be ways to do more economic cooperation. And, you know, if this really were to take off, then I think you may see some discussion of what reconciliation and integration might look like. That's the big prize that the South Koreans want. But you're right to say that there are lots of obstacles here, and one of them is certainly missile tests, nuclear tests, and the DPRK's weapons activities.
Jim Walsh joining us from the state of Massachusetts tonight. Thanks so much.